Hello and welcome back. We are now on module number 10. Yay! Almost there. We got like 3 or 4 more to go. I am Kiana Brathwaite, soon to be Kiana Jennings White, and we are here moving through the 12 aspects of self. It's about actually it'll be 13 by the time I get done, but it'll be 12 to 13. The practice started off with 12, and recently I have evolved and added a few more. Aspect number 10 is network and relationships. I realized probably around 2020 that my network, actually before 2020 if I'm going to be honest, when I ventured out into the entrepreneurial world, I realized that the network that I had was not going to support the movement in which I was making. Because I was a nurse at the bedside, the majority of the people in my circle were doctors and nurses that were employed by different health systems within the area in which I lived, currently Philly, Delaware County area. And so I ventured out to build a network that encompassed individuals who were in the entrepreneurial space, whether they be mentors. They worked at supportive association and organizations. They themselves were entrepreneurial. And I find I always equate J-Lo to when she's about to move into a different aspect of her career or vocation. She finds a gentleman suitor who is in that space. And I don't know if that's purposeful or if it just so happens, but I have noticed that over her career over the years. And so I say I'm usually the J-Lo of life in the sense of when I'm shifting into a different direction, I make sure that I create a support group and network that supports that direction that I'm moving in. And I find that helps, when the going gets rough, it helps to be able to turn to people who have similar experiences so that they can understand the context to which you're speaking on things, and you can understand the context to which they are giving advice. And that's really important. The lens to which people are looking through as they're giving you advice when you're seeking out counsel. And so the way I define this is, for me, business, professional, personal connections that enhance and add to my life in positive, supportive, and reciprocal ways. And that definition is actually an evolved definition because before it was just, my network and who I'm building relationships with. And I wanted to become a little more granular with what that looks and feels like. And I want to throw in there not just reciprocal, but aligned. I have had people in my network and have built relationships with individuals and organizations that were not well aligned with who I was at the time. And as a result, we outgrew each other, which happens and is fine. But I didn't understand that the outgrowing was happening actually for me quite fast or rapidly because there wasn't an alignment in the first place. And so I now require alignment in any of my relationships. And when alignment is no longer there, then it's time to let the relationship go. And that's just my way of moving through things. And I don't mean maliciously or angrily or any of that. Just recognizing this isn't, we're not aligned, and that's okay. I'm going in this direction, you're going in that direction. Godspeed. I wish you the best, right, in life. So this is one of those sections that requires work. And as an entrepreneur, I recognized that it was also something that I needed to be intentional with because what I was able to do as an employee requires a lot more of my resources and intentionality as an entrepreneur than it did as an employee. Because as an employee, I'm going to an office with a plethora of a multitude of different personalities and individuals who work in different areas. I get to engage with them on a day-to-day basis, depending on what my work schedule was. And I'm building relationships that way, right? Well, I don't have that anymore because I have a virtual business that I work from home with. And so I had to create that for myself. And I found myself, like I said, in places that were just not aligned or that I thought I should go into because I was a business owner. And now, having had this experience with this practice as long as I have and for it to have evolved for me, I now walk in it very differently, and walk into these places and spaces very differently. And a lot of times the ones that don't align with me, I just all out avoid. And the ones that do, I make space for them by avoiding the things that aren't good for me or don't work for me or aren't in alignment. I make space by saying no to those and saying yes to the things that do align and are good for me and I do enjoy. So that's the long and the short of network and relationships. They are necessary not just for business purposes, but as I said, it's professional and personal. I consider business and professional and personal to be separate sides of a very similar coin, or, a coin that has three sides. I've never seen one, but there might be one out there. Who knows? And that's why I wanted to be intentional with this particular aspect. Introducing that to you and sharing that with you, I'm now at a place where I'm wanting you to go and play with that on your own. I always invite my listeners to play with it, sit with it. Networking may not be, and networking has a very stressful connotation for a lot of people. So you may want to use a different word, or you may want to define networking for yourself. You may not want to call them relationships. You may want to call them something else. I do see them as relationships, and I do like to nurture and cultivate relationships. It's very fulfilling for me. And with that, I invite you to play around with it, see what comes up. How does it manifest in your day-to-day? Are you, going to work and able to easily cultivate these, or do you have to be intentional based upon the kind of work that you're doing, the people you're working with, because you also want to be cognizant of that? And just give it some space and let it tell you what it is and what it isn't, and, how it shows up for you. And then you can move forward with defining it and all the things. So I want to say thank you for being here and listening. I always appreciate your time. I know how precious it is. And for listening, I hope you are gleaning a plethora of things as you listen. And I look forward to hearing you, talking to you in the next module. Until then, take care.